So I started Skyrim. Actually, funny enough, so Skyrim is one of the most important games of the last, God, I guess 20 years, 20 plus years. Oh, God. Right? Hang on. No, it hasn't been that. It's 15 years. It's 15 years. Hey, I'm bad at math. I remember when it came out and it was such a huge deal. Skyrim has been this cultural touchstone for over a decade and probably will continue to be. And I've never played it. I just never got around to it. And I've owned it for a while on Steam. I've been meaning to play it. And funny enough, what actually got me to play it, I've mentioned that I do playtesting things every so often. Which involve like responding to surveys that are sent out by local, semi-local companies. Some of them are online. And very often they'll ask like what games you have experience with. And for whatever reason, Skyrim's always on the list. They always want to know if you've played Skyrim. And I always have to check no. You know, I always have to leave it unchecked. And I was like, I should just play Skyrim. I should just, like, have an opinion on it. I should just see what I think. So, I booted it up and played a bit of it and came to the horrifying realization that I actually really dislike the game. Which I thought I was ready to get up here and say, like, I'm sorry, I have this insane contrarian opinion. I don't like Skyrim. And then I found out that actually a lot of the complaints that I have existed when the game came out and are somewhat, like, well known. The criticisms of Skyrim are kind of pretty well known, actually. I just never knew that because the sheer number of people who have played it and the effusive praise and cultural presence it's had over the last decade and a half kind of just made me assume that everyone loved this game. This was some universally beloved game. And I was like, oh no, am I going to be a freak? Am I going to be the one who, you know, stands up in the Norman Rockwell painting? But no. So I should explain my problems with Skyrim. And I'll actually start in kind of a weird place. Every fucking menu in this game sucks. Skyrim has the most shockingly bad menus I've ever seen in such a high-budget game. I couldn't even figure out... I had to look up online how to quit the game. It is hidden from you. In the main options menu, when you hit escape, you have the sidebar with, like, resume, settings, some other stuff. And quit is underneath. It's at the bottom, but they don't show you all of the things on the sidebar. You have to scroll down to it. And there's no arrow to show you that there's something down there. There's no... This is massive vertical space. They just don't use it for some reason. There's a hidden, like, cutoff zone. Like, what the... Was this designed to be played on a wristwatch? Why aren't we using the vertical space we have? So that pissed me off. In-game graphical settings are really bad. I am used to games from this time kind of like requiring the PC port to use like a launcher exe to change the settings to actually launch on the right resolution and stuff. I'm kind of used to that. But it does annoy me, and it's kind of crazy how... I don't know if, like, the most recent Anniversary Edition has changed that. I'm playing the Special Edition, I think. That still has the external options thing. And it also doesn't launch if you play it through, like, a mod loader. Which I have to because it's a Bethesda game. I need to play it with stability mods. What else? The interface. So, like, the inventory is really bad. There's no way to sort items. There is, like, an automatic sorting, but there's no way to sort within a category, like apparel or weapons. It's all just like jammed in there with no, just completely haphazard. I don't know if it's alphabetical. I don't even know how it's sorted by default because it's not like most recent, I don't think. I lose stuff all the time in my inventory. I hate the way that the health bars all drain to the middle. That's super like deceptive and weird, and I don't know why it does that. Because it means that everyone has like half the health that the health bar looks like. If that makes sense. It's very, I hate the way that it communicates information. God, what else? Like the inventory, the HUD, the favorites, having the favorites menu to make up for the fact that as like a solution to how much like stuff you can have, different stuff you can have equipped, feels like super janky and like inelegant. I generally just don't like interacting with the game's interfaces at all. And then we get onto the game itself. I like a lot of different games for a lot of different reasons. And I like a lot of RPGs for a lot of different reasons. My two favorite RPGs are Wizardry 8 and Final Fantasy 6. Those are very different games. One of them I love for the gameplay. One of them I love for its narrative. Take a guess which one is which. Not to say that the other is like terrible in the other regard, but I have a pretty open mind when it comes to what can be appealing to me about an RPG. And Skyrim just has like nothing. Like I realized immediately that the writing in this game was really mediocre. It is like serviceable at best and like terrible at worst. It was like, I was just groaning at how like quote unquote invisible tutorial the dialogue is at the start of the game. Whoa, hey there, you look like you could learn how to do blacksmithing. Could use some help at the forge. Why don't you take his axe off of him by, maybe pressing E or something over his body. I find stuff like that's just give me a pop-up, man. I don't need it to be faux cinematic. It honestly takes me out of the experience because I understand. And again, this might be a me thing. I understand that you're tutorializing me right now. Let's just, instead of having like kind of hackney dialogue to the awkward dialogue to tell me to do stuff, you just give me a pop-up and make the dialogue better. Skyrim's story is not compelling in the least. I don't think that the story is compelling. I don't think that the world is compelling at all. And that really comes down to the fact that there are 0 interesting characters to be found. Maybe later on. Maybe later on there's a real knockout character. But, like, okay. The setup is... It's so weird. How, like, you get, like, whiplash from the progression of the plot. You go from being, like, a criminal on the chopping block to walking 10 feet to get to the Jarl's town, which is, like, 20 buildings. Like, this is supposed to be a big city. And then he just immediately is like, oh yeah, I trust you and everything you say. And then you go fight a dragon. And then I didn't even kill the dragon. I let the other NPCs do it because I was playing like a spellcaster and I didn't have enough mana to actually deal damage to the dragon. Like for long enough that it wouldn't just roast me. So I just like hung back in the tower and let the NPCs fight the dragon. And afterwards, I was staring at the NPC who I watched deal the killing blow. And he goes, I can't believe you killed that dragon. You're so crazy. Can I suck your dick right now? And then you go to the Jarl and they're like, you're a dragonborn. You're like awesome. You're the coolest, most epic chosen one guy ever. and the Jarl instantly is like, here's the deed to my house. Here's this family heirloom I have. You now have the highest title I can bestow on anyone in the land, guy I met 3 minutes ago. And I was like, this, like, nothing in this game means anything. Nothing in this game means everything. Everything is here basically to serve me as, like, a power fantasy thing. Everything is just here to serve me. And I just found that super lame. There are 3 characters in Skyrim. The first one is the enemy who charges at you and goes, rah! The second one is the usually neutral quest-giving NPC who you walk up to and they go, we have fucking wolves! Go kill the wolves! And then you kill the wolves and they're like, you're so fucking awesome, can I suck your dick? And then the third one is the person who goes, you're so fucking awesome, Dragonborn, you're so special, can I suck your dick? And this is like the whole game that I played. I played like 6 hours and like nothing, not a single compelling thing happened. So here's the moment where you say, oh, but Taigen, that's not really what Skyrim's about. Skyrim isn't really about going on an epic quest. It's about living in the world and exploring it and making your own fun. And here's my second problem with the game, which is that playing the game is not very fun. So first of all, I think you could more charitably describe Skyrim as an open world fantasy sandbox. That being said, I have never clicked with the sandbox genre. Like, I don't like Minecraft. I'm really not a make your own fun kind of guy. I need a little bit of external motivation or a reason for me to get invested in this or any reason for me to play this besides any other game that I could be playing. That presents me with, like, you know, stuff that has worth. That's a little mean, but, you know, like stuff that someone put time and thought and design into rather than like, here's a bunch of shit. Figure it out on your own. And some people like that. I can't get into that. I need like something. I need a little push. I need I need to feel like a bit of a pull to the world. I need some kind of motivation to want to explore in the first place. And Skyrim, basically, because it is so pallid in its characters and it's the way that its story is even told, I don't care about the setting of Skyrim. I don't care about the Civil War thing. It's 2 fucking boring groups of guys in a civil war over some bullshit I don't care about, that I have no investment in. In a story that isn't told in an interesting way. And everything besides that is like, you can go explore and do bad combat because Skyrim's combat is not very good. It... Whoa. I like choked on my own spit. Skyrim's combat is not very good. It is like... I can't believe that they start you out with a melee weapon because the melee combat is so insanely floaty. It's like I don't even know what's happening. It's just like random bullshit happens on the screen. I click the mouse a lot. Someone falls over. I guess I did it. Switching over to a magic build, it's just you walk up to someone, you go ah, and you blow magic on them, and then they die. And I'm like, I guess I did it. It was very uninteresting. It wasn't very compelling. So like, yeah, I really don't feel motivated to go out and explore the world when the doing of things, like, okay, whenever I hear people talk about what they like about Skyrim and the experiences that make them love the game, they just kind of describe things that happened. But it's just the things that happened, if that makes sense. It wasn't like doing them was fun. Like, the doing of things in Skyrim is not fun to me. The combat isn't fun. It's not fun to talk to NPCs. You can get, gear and stuff. You could scavenge it and stuff so that you can do more bad combat, I guess. And just, like, I just remember, like, walking into the first town and feeling like I was fighting this apathy. I was fighting this feeling of I just don't give a shit about anything that's going on in the setting. Like, I'm not invested at all. And I wasn't expecting that. I really wasn't expecting that. I was kind of excited to play this game. And I played for a few hours. I shut it off because I was like, ugh, I'm just not feeling it. And then I go and I do a bunch of research on what people like about the game because I feel like I'm going crazy. I'm like, this is clearly hitting something that is so far outside of my taste that I don't even know how to talk about it. And I need to understand what people like about it. I watched a bunch of videos, and I came to some conclusions. Now, there are many reasons that people, I think, like Skyrim. Some of them are going to make me sound very pretentious, and some of them probably not. I'll start off with the non-pretentious ones. So a lot of people just enjoy, like, simulator games, and I think that's totally fair. It's just not something I can get into. For many people, simply being in a fantasy world is enough for them, and they really don't need any further reason to be invested in it. It you could say it's kind of a novelty. Also, one that, to be fair, has such a grand size and so many things in it, makes it feel like you could just wander and get a lot of very surface level, simple content to do. And it's got kind of a junk food, soul food quality for a lot of people. So that kind of, some people are just happy to be like, I'm going to run around and try to pickpocket every character in the city. And that to them is enough to like justify the game. And that's not enough for me. I need a little something more. So I kind of get that. Some other reasons, which might be a little bit in bad faith. I think that for a lot of people, Skyrim was their first exposure to an RPG, perhaps like fantasy games in general, and that was a really formative experience for them. Skyrim is kind of, I hope this isn't very controversial, but Skyrim's a pretty normie game. There is a video by the YouTuber Rasputin, who is probably best known for his what gaming is like for a non-gamer videos, which are really fun. I think I would recommend those a lot. And he has a video called Why Skyrim? And it's kind of like him doing what I am trying to do, which is figure out why he has always had a disconnect with Skyrim and why he could never get into it and what other people like about it. And he relates this anecdote where he says about meeting people who are more on the quote normie side of, stuff. Which again, everyone's a normie for most things. But in terms of like gaming normies, meeting these people and the topic of what's your favorite game comes up. And they would often say some combination of, my favorite games are Call of Duty, FIFA, and Skyrim. And to him, this was kind of puzzling. But when I heard that in his video, I threw my hands up and I went, oh no, I get it now. Oh no, this is going to make me sound like such an asshole. Oh no. Skyrim is the Mortal Kombat of RPGs. Fuck. Oh, I sound like such an asshole. It is an RPG that hits really hard if you haven't really played any other RPGs before. If it's your first exposure to the genre, it's like magical. I'm sure it's magical. The scope, the atmosphere, the concepts. But then, like, you know, you play some other shit. And I was talking to my friend yesterday about this, who is a huge Skyrim fan. And she's like, I can admit, if I played more RPGs, I am sure they would be better than Skyrim in like basically every metric. But I love Skyrim. And she knows this because she's also played Fallout New Vegas because she's trans. And, like, New Vegas, again, I hate to be that guy. This whole podcast is turning into me being that guy. But, yeah, I can't think of a single thing that Skyrim does that New Vegas doesn't beat. Besides maybe the sheer scale. Like, the writing is way better. The quests are way more interesting. I think the combat is more fun. The level... Oh my god, the fucking Skyrim skill menu? That might be the worst one. Oh, with the fucking constellations? Who came up with that shit? It's a cool idea on paper. It's just like, why? Why the fuck do I... Why is it control like this? Oh my god. Oh, what a terrible menu. Oh my god. What a terrible interface. Oh, I'm not even going to start. Leveling system, yeah, better. How was I saying? Yeah, I the only thing Skyrim really has it beat out in is, I guess, you know, if you're more into the aesthetic, that's one thing. And the sheer size and scale is a draw for people. Although I think New Vegas is plenty big myself, and you can find way more interesting stories by exploring the New Vegas wasteland. Dude, I remember that fucking quest from New Vegas where you find that like cult of ghouls, and they're obsessed with going to space, and you're helping them go to space, but it's actually like a rocket ship that's gonna like blow them all up. And what a memorable quest line. Like it's tragic, and it's beautiful, and it's memorable, and you have this weird feeling that you're left with afterwards. And I just found that by like wandering around in the first couple hours of the game. Nothing even close to that happened in Skyrim. It's just like, we have fucking wolves the whole time. Skyrim has a lot of detail. That's another thing I'll give it. It has a lot of detail. You will often just be walking from point A to point B, and you will find a little camp, and the camp, like, tells a little story. There were people here, maybe they left in a hurry, maybe they were eaten, maybe, you know, there's like a giant camp, and you could find little skulls around, and okay, cool, like, there's books that you could find, and notes. And that stuff's, there's a nice level of detail in the world. To me, it's not really supported by enough to be interesting. So I feel like I kind of got a better idea of what people liked about the game, and I thought, let me just try another sitting. Because I've heard that, like, the steps up to the big temple of the Greybeards, I forget what it's called, people were like, it's unforgettable. That was unforgettable sequence, like magical, life-changing sequence. And I was like, okay, well, shit, I'll check it out. And then it's like, yeah, you know, you walk up a mountain and you walk up steps, and like the effect with the wind is cool, and the sky, and there's a big moon. And that's kind of it. And I was like, what? Really? My whole experience of Skyrim was, this is the game that you guys have been going crazy? Like, it just doesn't connect with me in any way. I could not bring myself to care about anything that was happening. Anything that I was doing, nothing that I did felt like meaningful. Nothing felt meaningful. No one I met was interesting, or like my relationship with nothing changed. Nothing. I just went around and did like power fantasy shit. I was fairly low level, and I just was like, why should I care? Why should I care about anything that's happening? And it was very disappointing, and it left a really big, kind of like a really sour taste in my mouth. And I was sitting around and I was thinking like, man, it kind of sucks. I feel like I've had this legend of Skyrim built up in my mind, and I go into games with like as little expectations as possible, right? I expect to be surprised. So it wasn't like, oh, this game's going to change my life. This could be so. It was like, let's check out Skyrim. Let's see what it is. And this is just kind of my natural reaction to it. And even then, it was disappointing. I'm like, man, this game is like bad. I think genuinely kind of bad in a lot of ways that are shocking. It has like, the gameplay kind of sucks. I don't like how it feels to control. There's no fucking FOV slider. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. There's no FOV slider. That was one of my first, like, big, like, dog, come on. That was one of the first bad feet I got off with. What? Anyway. It doesn't feel good to control. The writing's bad. The combat is bad. The exploration is fine. There's just a lot of walking. Anytime I see footage of Skyrim, it's just people fucking walking places. And it's like, okay, I get the journey and all that, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's better journeys I could go on. Some journeys suck, actually. I just watched the Odyssey. Not all journeys are like, yeah, I'd do that again. Is the Odyssey Type 2 fun? And I'm thinking like, I wonder if Oblivion is like this. Because guess what I also own? Oblivion Game of the Year Edition on Steam. So I popped it in, and I played for a few hours. And I also, again, I hate to say it, I have become an Oblivion is better guy. Yeah, I think Oblivion, with just like the first, how many hours do I have in it? How many? 3 hours. Holy shit. In 3 hours, I have been so much more interested in everything that's going on in Oblivion. I think it is actually significantly better written. And people will be like, oh, whoa, lol, Oblivion writing. Oblivion presents me with such a more interesting setup and like understanding of who my character is in the world and motivation for doing anything that like I want to see where this plot, like, okay, maybe like the dialogue is goofy and the voice acting is a little wonky, but the storytelling in Oblivion is like, the quest storytelling is great so far. The whole setup is that you are like a prisoner in the middle, like the heart of the Empire. And the Emperor, these are dark days for the Empire. The Emperor's 3 sons have been assassinated, and he's trying to escape the castle. You happen to be in the prison of the city, which has this secret passageway, and by like some clerical error, like a twist of fate, you have you are in this cell with a hidden passage that he has to go through, and he sees you, and he says, "I've seen you in my dreams. I think you're important in some way." What I also like is it doesn't, at least at this point, doesn't feel like a kind of bland chosen one, everyone wants to suck you off storyline. You're like important to the plot, but it's because of stuff that you have to do. You're more of the you're more of the Sam. You're more of the Samwise Gamgee than you are the Frodo. And I think that's cool. You follow him and his guards down through the sewers. He gets assassinated as fate has foretold, but he gives you this amulet, and only the true heir to the throne can wear the amulet. So now you got to go find this guy, who is like you find out is actually his bastard son later. Okay, this is kind of, I haven't met the guy yet, but this is kind of an interesting plot. Like the Emperor guy has this sort of weird vibe to him. Like he's having these visions, and it feels like something kind of greater is happening. It's nothing revolutionary, but it just feels like the bare minimum. It just feels like the bare minimum of an interesting fantasy plot. Like, okay, sure. Now I'll get let out into the world, and I'm kind of interested to explore. Suddenly, I'm kind of interested in what I'm doing, and I have a direction, and let's go. So I actually turned right back around and went back into the city. Thankfully, you're not like a wanted criminal, so you can just walk around. And I was just walking around, and like I was just thinking, man, like all the Skyrim cities, they're like 10 buildings. And they just feel so small and weird. And you walk into like the main city, the capital city, and it's like big. It's multiple loading zones. It's these huge buildings. It feels like people could live here. It feels like there's enough space for people to live here. And there's all these different sections to the city. There's like the market, and then there's like gardens. There's the temple area. I go to the shipyard, and there's these cool like docks. And I'm walking around looking at the ships, and there's this ship that looks like it's got like more of a house built onto it or something. So I go inside, and it's an inn. It's a tavern and an inn on a boat, which is a super cool concept. And there's like these two characters who run it. There's like an orc who's super gruff, and I think he's like more of the bartender, or he owns it. He's something like that. And he doesn't like you. He doesn't want to talk to you. He doesn't want to make small talk. And then there's the elf, who's a little more like, he's a nicer, friendlier kind of, he's the guy you actually talk to for customer, for being a customer. And all the other inns in the city cost like 50 gold, and you don't have a lot of gold at this point. So I was like, and they only cost 10. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, cool. This is cool. I'll just like spend a night and just, my whole plan was just spend the night and sleep in a bed for the first time in game. So I do so. And when you wake up, you get a little like pop-up about, you get pop-ups with your inner thoughts and what your understanding is. And it's like, the ship has taken off. Well, overnight. You better go talk to the captain. And then you leave your room and you discover that the ship has actually been boarded by brigands. They're like thieves, and they've taken control of the ship, and they're looking for some kind of a treasure. So you got to like fight your way through the ship and learn little details about their plot and where their hideout is. You kind of convince one of the guys that the other ones betrayed him, so he gives you a bunch of information, and then he tries to kill you, and you kill him. You find their leader, and you can fight her, but it's kind of a pain in the ass because she has a sword that saps your stamina, which is really annoying to fight. And but if you pick the right dialogue options, without even having to pass any skill checks, you can convince her to basically turn herself in because she's so afraid of you. She gets like intimidated, and she turns herself in. And I think you get like her sword, and it's like this cool like power boost sword. And then once you've made it back to the docks, once you've made it back to land, the elf guy gives you like 70. He gives you like a nice compensation, like way more than you paid for the night. And then I'm walking around the docks after leaving the thing, and the orc guy who previously wanted nothing to do with me is like, "Hey, that's my man. You're welcome anytime." And I was like, "Oh, cool. What a cool little quest. I just stumbled into that by complete accident, just by being curious. This entire story that I got to participate in, where there was a little character arc, there's like this whole, you get the whole relationship about all these 4 like pirate characters. You learn about and I bet if you go to that town, there will be some kind of a hideout or something. Like, I bet that there's gonna be something like that there. And you do a little combat. It takes place in a cool little location. You get a reward for it, and then there's a meaningful change to a character by the end. Like, a character went from disliking you to liking you. Just like a simple, cool little quest. And within 3 hours, that was more interesting than like being told I'm the chosen one within the first 10 minutes of Skyrim. Like, that was leagues more interesting. And it's just a storytelling thing. This isn't like the Oscar-winning Schindler's List screenplay, right? It's just, it's like fun stories. And now I'm like, oh, if I explore around, I might find more cool little stories like that. And hey, guess what? The world is still super interactive. You can still pickpocket everyone. You can still, there's not as much like physics stuff, I guess, where you get the real jank in Skyrim. But everything, I just have been like having a blast. I just had a blast from that one sitting. And it was like just a switch got flipped. And I checked out who the writing staff was across both games. And yeah, turns out, surprise, surprise, Oblivion and Morrowind were both written by basically the same writing team who left, and then there was a new writer, Emil Pagliaruno, who took over starting with Skyrim, and I believe also wrote Fallout 4 and Starfield. So I don't know. I think the proof is in the pudding. It's pretty clear to me where the big difference was. People were like, I've always heard people warning about Oblivion's weird mechanics and weird leveling systems and stuff like that. And I checked it out. It's not actually that crazy. It's basically, funny enough, it feels like it's supposed to do the same thing that Skyrim does, but ends up achieving the opposite effect. In Skyrim, one of the big appeals is the game's really aggressive level curve system, where enemies will basically scale. Most enemies in the world will scale to you within a certain range, like preset range. There are like certain, as far as I could tell, there are certain enemies that will always be like, they are meant to be at least this level of strength. Some of them are set, but a lot of them will be like, if you walk out of the tutorial and then walk all the way across the map and fight some bandits, they will be your same level, essentially. They will be within the range where you can comfortably take them on. So that you can basically go anywhere and do any kind of content at any time. That's the idea. Again, minimal friction. Which, I'm on. Oblivion has a similar system, which is like, as you level up, which you still do by like, doing actions associated with different skills. And you pick like primary attributes, which are like your stats, and every skill has like a controlling attribute. And if that's your primary attribute, you'll like gain more experience in that one. It's kind of cool, I guess. But the higher your level is, the more, like, the harder enemies will get. So it's actually like, it ends up, the specific way the math works out, the game actually just gets like exponentially more difficult if you power level. So it's like, don't power level. This is the message. So really funny example of like similar idea, similar concept of enemies always scaling with you, but executed in a totally different way. Um, yeah, so unfortunately, I just don't really like Skyrim. I think it's kind of, if you've never played an RPG before, I can see how it would have a special place in your heart. Uh, it just doesn't do it for me. I am an Oblivion is better guy. See, now I gotta play Morrowind and become a Morrowind is better guy. I was telling Kat about this because I was having such a crisis over, like, I can't believe that I think this game is kind of bad. And she said, something like another one to add to your list of controversial opinions. I don't think I have that many controversial opinions. I do lose so much fucking gamer cred for not liking Dark Souls and not liking Skyrim, though. I lose a lot of that. I'll never be a live Souls guy. I'll never be a live Souls gamer. Fuck. Nah, man, you gotta hop on Wizardry 8.